So we got the 253 spoilers, and of course we are continuing the long battle against Sukuna in this chapter as usual. But Sukuna is going off because he finally does the Black Flash in this chapter. That's right, I can't believe it. I think it's like the first time he actually does it, surprisingly. You'd think that he'd be hitting this stuff all the time, but we'll get into how he's doing it, why he's doing it, and who he's doing it against. But before we get into that, the chapter actually begins with a small flashback. And the topic of discussion is who's the strongest first grade sorcerer. So I guess this flashback's happening around the time of like season 1, maybe somewhere around there. And I say that because Nanami is still alive and he looks like season 1 Nanami for the most part. I don't really know what time this is. I don't really think it matters. It's just around that time. And they all pretty much say that Kusakabe is probably the strongest first grade sorcerer, which is like essentially right underneath special grade. Well, kind of. I'll go more into it in my chapter review in the next 2 days. But Gojo says, well, it's a different story if we add the big 3 clans. Of course, he's talking about the Gojo clan, which is essentially just Gojo himself at this point. Then we have the Kamo clan, which is like the blood technique users. And then we have the Zenin clan. And I don't know why he wouldn't just include them as well, because for sure now Bito is stronger than Kusakabe, at least in my opinion. But I don't know, maybe there was something going on with Kusakabe considering what he does in this chapter, and we'll get into that as well, of course. But back to Maki versus Sukuna. Maki ducks another slash from Sukuna. Both of them engage in the fight as the building which got cut off earlier begins to fall on top of them. So yeah, we've been seeing Maki take on Sukuna coming off of the previous chapter, where they were having somewhat of a competitive fight, I guess you can call it that. I mean, she was doing pretty well considering how everyone else has been doing against Sukuna at this point. And they've just been tearing up the environment, and she actually was able to evade a World Cutter slash from Sukuna in the previous chapter, which kind of got his respect, I suppose, at least the respect of the audience. Not that it was really lacking in the majority of it, I'll say. But anyway, the car is parked in the building, crashes out, and Sukuna uses it to his advantage by sending his slashes through them. Maki notices Sukuna's slashes and defends against it, but gets thrown off by the impact of the car. Gotta love Sukuna using everything to his advantage. Like, he's not like a prideful type of guy. Like, he'll do anything he needs to do to win, essentially. Like we saw, the classic fire extinguisher sequence against Gojo. I mean, he did, morph his body, with the 2 mouths, 4 arms, and 4 eyes, which still hasn't been explained. But, he'll pretty much do anything to be the best. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Raycon. So guys, if you follow the channel, you know by now that I love the Raycon Everyday Earbuds. That's because they have amazing sound quality and optimized gel tips. They also have really easy tap functions on them with 3 customizable sound profiles, noise isolation, awareness mode, and volume control. All you have to do is like give it 1, 2, or 3 taps. It's so simple. They also have 8 hours of playtime with a 32-hour battery life, and the best part is that they're half the price of other premium audio brands. I really like using the Raycons when I'm doing like chores around the house or something like that. I like listening to Matt and Shane's secret podcast with them. Let me know in the comments if there's any other dogs out there. I also use the Raycons when I'm working out or going on a walk or a hike, and when I'm doing that, I like to listen to something more informative, so I'm checking out some audiobooks right now, such as Rich Dad Poor Dad. So guys, if you want to get your very own Raycon Everyday Earbuds, check the link in my description or go to buyraycon.com/Zhoniin. That way you're going to get 20% off of your Raycon purchase plus free shipping. Thanks guys. Sukuna grabs hold of Maki and attacks her with a cleave, but Ino suddenly enters the battle and tries to attack, but Sukuna immediately sends slashes, canceling Ino's technique and kicks him hard. So yeah, Sukuna almost just straight up killing Maki here. Like, he almost hits her with that body cleave that he did to Yuji multiple times already. But Ino coming in, stopping it at the last second, and then Ino looks like he's getting hit with like some cleaves and stuff. He's getting torn up. I don't know if he's dead here because he probably has cursed energy reinforcement training like everyone else had through that time skip. So I'm pretty sure he's going to survive this, but he's benched for now. As Sukuna notices that Ino didn't have Nanami's weapon, Kusakabe instantly attacks Sukuna with Nanami's 7-3 ratio technique. And Kusakabe realizes that Sukuna tanked that attack easily because he had already noticed their plan. Yeah, Sukuna with the 9,000 IQ play here. He noticed that Ino didn't have Nanami's blunt cleaver curse tool thing that has this cursed technique imbued into it now. So he realized, oh, probably somebody else has it, and he was expecting it, and yes, it was Kusakabe using it here. But Sukuna just tanks the 7-3 technique, which instantly points out a weak spot on you or creates one, which is kind of the opposite of what the whole technique is about, but whatever. Maki re-enters the battle. She thinks even if Yuta survives, if the battle with Sukuna gets prolonged, they'll have new problems. So she decides to end this as soon as possible. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. You don't want to prolong a battle with Sukuna regardless. But her saying even if Yuta survives is interesting. And it keeps going back to like, are these characters going to survive that have been quote unquote slain by Sukuna, rescued or just teleported by Yui? Remains to be seen. But the fact that they keep bringing it up makes me think that maybe some of them will. Narrator says, after Gojo's death, Kashimo, Higuruma, and Yuta entertained Sukuna with their gem-like talents in Jujutsu. But Sukuna desired to face Maki the most, the one who threw away her Jujutsu with heavenly restrictions. The King of Curses was excited for this reality. So yeah, just a quick update on Heavenly Restriction. Maki has 0 cursed energy because of this. Like, even regular people in the Jujutsu Kaisen world have a little bit of cursed energy, but she has 0, just like Toji. So it essentially just makes her a superhuman. Maki slices off a pillar and kicks it towards Sukuna, but he instantly vanishes from his place and grabs Maki's face with high speed, then force throws them off the building. So yeah, Maki trying to use a similar technique that Sukuna does with like a distraction from objects, but he's getting around it and he's grabbing Maki by the face here. This in theory could have just been death because he could have just cleaved her, but he didn't for some reason. Sukuna praises Maki, saying that he's not like the other brat Yuji. She truly shaved off everything. True nothingness. And it's like, well, what is Yuji supposed to do? Like, no one even really fully understands what Heavenly Restriction is and how it works and how people even get it. So like, what is Yuji supposed to do about that? Meanwhile, Maki notices that Sukuna has stopped healing himself with a reverse curse technique. Interesting. I wonder if that means that Sukuna chose not to, or he is unable to, or he's like building something else up possibly. As his attack tears off a part of Maki's face, Sukuna shouts in high excitement, "This fight will determine which is more worthy to polish. Is it Jujutsu or the physical body? It's the first time that someone has bared a duty on me." Sukuna says Jujutsu is merely the skin and the meat, but the body of Maki is the true bone and essence. Sukuna excitedly shouts at Maki, saying her existence alone defies Jujutsu. So yeah, that's what I was saying, like, Heavenly Restriction is like something that no one really understands. It like defies the laws of Jujutsu essentially. And for him saying like, the skin and the meat is Jujutsu and then Maki's body is the true bone and essence, it's kind of just the dichotomy of the power system here more than anything. I don't think it means he's going to take over Maki's body, because it would kind of be redundant. Since Sukuna has the most curse energy, it would kind of defeat the purpose of what Heavenly Restriction is. Unless, I don't know, he could somehow have 2 at the same time, like he could somehow take over Maki's body and then retain her Heavenly Restriction and also use Jujutsu, but that would just make him God even more than he already is. But then after this, after his little speech here, he hits Maki with a black flash. Yeah, this is wild. Sukuna, like we were just talking about, already powerful enough, but to do a black flash, and he's hitting Maki with it, she is just getting wrecked by this thing, of course. And just like Ino, I'm pretty sure she is benched. Not being killed, but she is benched for sure. It looks like he sends her into a building, maybe. Drawing, I think, blood from her as well. Like, she is down for the count. I don't know permanently. I'm sure she'll be back, but for now, she's down. Kusakabe comes in and he says, "What, are you kidding me? Am I actually the last one standing? Where's Itadori? Choso? Well, Mei probably won't come out. Crap, if there is a 0 chance of victory, I could have retreated already, but I've come this far already. I kinda have to fight him, right?" And Kusakabe, with a shaky resolve, tries to confront Sukuna, but he thinks, am I really gonna do it? Me? Kill Sukuna? And that's where the chapter ends. Even the editor is kind of surprised, saying like, what? For real? So this is like a nice little redemption for Kusakabe, because the last time he encountered Sukuna at the end of Shibuya, he was frozen in fear. Like, Sukuna was like, don't move or you'll die, which was smart at the time because he easily would have died. But now he's going to have a chance to redeem himself, and I guess we're going to see what Kusakabe is fully capable of, maybe. Maybe he could go back to what he was doing with Yuji in that 1 month time skip. Maybe some kind of soul swap training will come into play here. Not that he could do it, but I'm saying Yuji could do it. But there's also possibly something else that Kusakabe is capable of, considering how the chapter started off with, you know, the sorcerers hyping him up in that flashback. But of course, as always, I will go way more into this chapter once it is released in my full chapter review, which will be on the channel either tomorrow or Friday or Saturday, whenever it gets released. So subscribe if you haven't already, guys. And if you liked it, please give it a like. And I'll see you in the next one.